She's stunning, articulate, and seems to understand you better than anyone else ever has. She makes you feel like you're the center of her universe, the missing piece she's been searching for her entire life. She mirrors your interests perfectly, laughs at all your jokes, and somehow knows exactly what to say to make you feel incredible about yourself. But something feels off. Maybe it's the way her eyes don't quite match her smile. Maybe it's how quickly she moved the relationship forward, or how she always seems to have an answer for everything. Maybe it's the subtle ways she's starting to isolate you from friends, or how she turns into a completely different person when she doesn't get her way. You brush off these red flags because she's so captivating, so magnetic, so unlike anyone you've ever met. But what if I told you that these very qualities, the ones that drew you in, are actually warning signs of one of the most dangerous personality types you can encounter? Today, we're diving deep into the shadowy world of female psychopaths, exploring the warning signs that could save your sanity, your resources, and possibly your life. Because while society has conditioned us to watch out for the obvious predators, the most dangerous hunters are the ones who look nothing like what we expect. Walk through any dating app, any social gathering, any workplace, and you'll encounter women who seem too good to be true. And here's the brutal reality. Sometimes they are exactly that. The female psychopath operates in a world where her gender provides the perfect camouflage for predatory behavior. Society has trained us to see women as nurturers, caregivers, and victims, rarely as manipulators and predators. This societal blind spot creates the perfect hunting ground for female psychopaths. They exploit our protective instincts, our desire to rescue and provide, and our assumption that feminine equals harmless. While we're programmed to spot aggressive male behavior, we're completely unprepared for the subtle, sophisticated manipulation tactics that female psychopaths have perfected. The female psychopath doesn't need physical strength to destroy you. She uses psychological warfare, emotional manipulation, and social engineering to achieve her goals. She's playing chess while you're playing checkers, operating on a level of strategic thinking that most people never encounter in their lifetime. Think about it. When was the last time you heard someone warn you about a dangerous woman? When was the last time someone told you to watch out for female predators? We're conditioned to be cautious of aggressive men, violent strangers, and obvious threats. But the woman who smiles sweetly, speaks softly, and appears vulnerable, she's invisible to our threat detection systems. This invisibility is her greatest weapon. She can walk into any situation, any relationship, any social circle, and immediately begin assessment and targeting without anyone suspecting her true intentions. She studies her environment like a hunter studies prey, identifying weaknesses, desires, and opportunities that she can exploit. Before we dive into the specific warning signs, you need to understand the fundamental difference between psychopaths and sociopaths, because this distinction will determine how the manipulation unfolds in your life. The psychopath is born, not made. She comes into this world with neurological predispositions that create a fundamentally different operating system than normal human beings. Her brain is wired differently from birth, lacking the neural connections that generate empathy, remorse, and genuine emotional bonds with other people. Think of the psychopath as a biological anomaly, a human being who looks and sounds completely normal, but is missing the essential software that makes us truly human. She doesn't feel guilt because her brain literally cannot process it. She doesn't experience empathy because the neural pathways don't exist. She doesn't form real emotional connections because she lacks the neurological capacity for authentic bonding. The psychopath is methodical, calculated, and incredibly patient. She can spend months, even years, setting up the perfect manipulation scenario. She studies her targets like a scientist studies specimens, learning their weaknesses, their desires, their fears, and their behavioral patterns. Everything she does is planned and purposeful. When a psychopath enters your life, she's not stumbling into a relationship hoping for the best. She's executing a strategic campaign with specific objectives: what she wants from you, how she plans to get it, and what she'll do when she's finished extracting maximum value from the interaction. The sociopath, on the other hand, is created by her environment. Trauma, abuse, neglect, or harmful social influences have damaged her ability to form healthy relationships and regulate her emotions. Unlike the psychopath, who was born different, the sociopath was made different by her experiences. Sociopaths are impulsive and erratic. Where the psychopath is cold and calculating, the sociopath is hot and reactive. She's capable of some guilt and empathy, but these emotions are damaged and inconsistent. She might feel bad about hurting you one moment and completely indifferent the next. The sociopath's manipulation is chaotic and unpredictable. She doesn't have the patience for long-term strategic planning like the psychopath does. Instead, she reacts to immediate opportunities and impulses, creating destruction through emotional volatility rather than calculated precision. Understanding this difference is crucial because it determines how the manipulation will unfold. The psychopath will systematically dismantle your life with surgical precision. The sociopath will create chaos and drama that feels like an emotional tornado. Both are dangerous, but they require different recognition patterns and protection strategies. The psychopath's danger lies in her methodical destruction of your life over time. The sociopath's danger lies in her unpredictable emotional explosions that can cause immediate devastation. The psychopath's predatory nature stems from biological factors that were present from birth. Researchers identified specific brain abnormalities in psychopaths, particularly in the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and temporal cortex, the areas responsible for emotion regulation, empathy, and moral reasoning. These women also show dopamine overactivity, which means they get an actual chemical reward from manipulating others. While normal people feel discomfort when causing pain, psychopaths experience pleasure. Manipulation isn't just a tool for them. It's a drug that generates genuine chemical satisfaction in their brains. This neurological setup creates a person who sees other human beings as objects to be used rather than people to be respected. They don't struggle with conscience because they don't have one in the way we understand it. They don't wrestle with guilt because their brains don't produce the neurochemical reactions that create guilt. The female psychopath's brain literally rewards her for manipulative behavior. Every time she successfully deceives someone, controls a situation, or extracts something of value from another person, her brain floods with dopamine, the same chemical that makes drug addicts crave their next fix. This means manipulation isn't just a strategy for achieving goals. It's a source of genuine pleasure that reinforces and perpetuates the behavior. She's not just manipulating you to get what she wants. She's manipulating you because it feels good to her brain. The sociopath's destructive behavior, by contrast, stems from environmental damage. Childhood abuse, severe neglect, traumatic experiences, or harmful peer influences have rewired her brain's emotional processing systems. Sometimes brain injury or severe psychological trauma in adulthood can trigger sociopathic behavior patterns. The sociopath learned that the world is dangerous, that people can't be trusted, and that she needs to take what she wants before someone takes from her. Her manipulation often stems from a damaged sense of self-preservation, rather than the psychopath's innate lack of empathy. Unlike the psychopath who manipulates for pleasure, the sociopath manipulates for survival. Her brain has been programmed by trauma to see threats everywhere and respond with preemptive aggression or deception. She's not enjoying the manipulation, she's convinced it's necessary for her safety and well-being. This distinction matters because it affects everything about how she operates. The psychopath manipulates because it's her nature, like a spider spinning webs or a cat hunting mice. The sociopath manipulates because it's her survival strategy, learned behavior that helped her navigate a hostile environment. The female psychopath is a master of mimicry. She studies normal human behavior the way an actor studies a role, learning to replicate emotion she doesn't actually feel. She becomes whoever she needs to be to achieve her objectives, shape-shifting her personality to match your desires and expectations. In the early stages of a relationship, she'll seem like your perfect match. This isn't coincidence, it's calculated manipulation. She's been studying you, learning your preferences, your insecurities, your dreams, and your weaknesses. She presents herself as the solution to every problem you've ever had in relationships. Watch how quickly she seems to get you. Normal relationships require time for people to learn each other's preferences, communication styles, and emotional needs. The psychopath shortcuts this process by intensive observation and strategic questioning, disguised as romantic interest. She lacks genuine empathy, but has learned to fake it with Oscar-worthy performance skills. She'll say all the right things about understanding your feelings, but watch carefully. Her responses are scripted rather than spontaneous. She's playing a role, not expressing authentic emotions. The female psychopath forms parasitic relationships where she extracts maximum value while providing minimal genuine investment. She might seem devoted, but her devotion is transactional. She's calculating what she's getting from you versus what she's putting in, always ensuring the balance tips heavily in her favour. She enjoys manipulation because it triggers dopamine rewards in her brain. This means she's not just manipulating to achieve specific goals, she's manipulating because the act itself provides chemical pleasure. She'll create unnecessary drama, conflict, or confusion simply because she enjoys the process of controlling and confusing others. Her behaviour is compulsive and planned. While she might appear spontaneous, her actions are usually part of larger strategic objectives. She's thinking several moves ahead, setting up scenarios that will benefit her weeks or months down the line. She's a pathological liar who can fabricate stories with incredible detail and consistency. Unlike normal people who feel stress when lying, she experiences no physiological discomfort with deception. Lying is as natural for her as breathing, and she's had years to perfect the skill. The female psychopath has a short attention span and gets bored easily. Once she's extracted what she wants from a relationship or achieved her goals, she'll often lose interest and move on to new targets. This isn't about finding happiness, it's about constant stimulation and acquisition. The female sociopath operates differently but is equally dangerous. She retains some capacity for empathy and guilt, but these emotions are damaged and unreliable. She might genuinely care about you one moment and be completely indifferent to your pain the next. Her behaviour is impulsive and emotionally reactive. Where the psychopath is cold and calculating, the sociopath is volatile and unpredictable. She doesn't plan manipulation campaigns. She reacts to opportunities and impulses in the moment. This impulsivity makes her behaviour erratic and inconsistent. She might be loving and affectionate in the morning and cruel and hostile by evening, not because of any strategic plan, but because her emotional regulation systems are fundamentally broken. The sociopath is more likely to show remorse after causing damage, but this remorse is typically shallow and short-lived. She might apologise tearfully for her behaviour, genuinely feel bad about it, but then repeat the same destructive patterns days or weeks later. Her manipulation tends to be more obvious and clumsy, compared to the psychopath's sophisticated strategies. This doesn't make her less dangerous, just dangerous in different ways. Her emotional volatility can create intense trauma bonding and psychological damage in her targets. Where the psychopath creates sustained psychological warfare, the sociopath creates emotional chaos. Both can destroy your mental health, but through different mechanisms and timeframes. Understanding the childhood origins of psychopathy and sociopathy provides crucial insight into recognizing these patterns in adult women. The female psychopath often showed callous and unemotional traits from an early age. She might have been the child who tortured animals without showing distress, bullied other children without remorse, or demonstrated an unusual lack of emotional response to punishment. These early signs often get overlooked in girls because society expects different behaviour from females. Parents and teachers might interpret her emotional coldness as maturity, her manipulation of other children as leadership skills, or her lack of empathy as independence. The future female psychopath often had difficulty forming genuine friendships. She might have been popular due to her charisma and manipulation skills, but her relationships lacked authentic emotional depth. She learned early how to say and do the right things to get what she wanted from authority figures and peers. Aggression in girls often presents differently than in boys. While boys might show physical aggression, girls typically demonstrate relational aggression, spreading rumours, manipulating social hierarchies, and using emotional warfare to destroy their targets. The sociopath's childhood typically involves significant trauma, abuse, or neglect. This environmental damage doesn't excuse her adult behaviour, but it explains the origins of her destructive patterns. Her childhood taught her that relationships are dangerous, that people will hurt her if she doesn't hurt them first, and that manipulation is necessary for survival. This traumatic background often makes the sociopath more sympathetic than the psychopath, which can be part of her manipulation strategy. She'll use her tragic backstory to justify her destructive behaviour and make you feel guilty for holding her accountable. The female psychopath often achieves significant success in high-powered careers because her lack of empathy and conscience provides competitive advantages in certain environments. She can make ruthless business decisions without being held back by concern for others, She can lie to clients, manipulate colleagues, and backstab competitors without experiencing the stress and guilt that would paralyze normal people. You'll find successful female psychopaths in careers like corporate leadership, law, medicine, politics, and law enforcement. These professions provide opportunities to exercise power over others while maintaining social respectability. The psychopath can hide her true nature behind professional success and social status. Her ability to mimic emotions and manipulate people makes her incredibly effective in careers that require managing others. She can appear compassionate and understanding while implementing policies that serve her interests rather than the people she's supposed to help. The female psychopath is often charming and charismatic in social settings. She's learned to read social cues and respond appropriately, making her seem more emotionally intelligent than she actually is. She might be the life of the party, the colleague everyone likes, or the neighbour who always seems to have everything together. The sociopath, by contrast, struggles with stable employment and social integration. Her impulsivity and emotional volatility make it difficult to maintain professional relationships and job performance. She's more likely to work in peripheral or high-risk occupations where her erratic behaviour is more tolerated or goes unnoticed. The sociopath often lives an unstable lifestyle, moving frequently, changing jobs regularly, and cycling through relationships rapidly. She might gravitate toward environments where chaos is normalized, like entertainment industries, high-stress service jobs, or even illegal activities. When psychopaths engage in criminal behavior, their crimes are calculated, methodical, and low risk. The female psychopath plans her crimes carefully, considers potential consequences, and takes steps to avoid detection. If she commits financial fraud, identity theft, or other white-collar crimes, she's likely spent months planning every detail. Her crimes often target people who trust her, romantic partners, family members, employers, or clients. She uses her ability to create false intimacy and trust to gain access to resources, information, or opportunities that she can exploit. The psychopath is less likely to get caught because she considers the risks and takes precautions. When she does face consequences, she's often able to manipulate the legal system through charm, fake remorse, or by playing victim. The sociopath's criminal behaviour is impulsive and poorly planned. She might commit crimes of opportunity, react violently to perceived slights, or engage in risky behaviour without considering consequences. Her crimes are more likely to be detected because she doesn't have the patience or strategic thinking to cover her tracks effectively. Interestingly, the sociopath is more likely to feel genuine remorse after committing crimes, especially if she causes harm to people she actually cares about. This remorse might be sincere but is typically short-lived and doesn't prevent her from repeating similar behaviour in the future. The treatment outlook for psychopaths is generally poor because you can't teach someone to develop brain structures and neural pathways they were born without. Multimodal therapy approaches that combine psychotherapy, behavioural skills training, and social involvement programs can sometimes help psychopaths learn to function in society without causing harm, but this is management rather than cure. The goal with psychopath treatment isn't to make them feel empathy. That's neurologically impossible. Instead, treatment focuses on teaching them that certain behaviours have negative consequences for them personally, hoping they'll choose to avoid destructive actions for self-interested reasons rather than moral ones. Medications are typically only used in resistant cases or when other mental health conditions are present alongside the psychopathy. There's no medication that can create empathy or conscience where none exists biologically. The female psychopath is often resistant to therapy because she doesn't believe she has problems that need fixing. From her perspective, she's operating effectively and achieving her goals. The problem is everyone else's inability to accept her approach to relationships and life. Sociopaths have better treatment potential because their destructive patterns stem from learned responses rather than neurological deficits. Medication can help with impulse control and emotional regulation, while counselling can address the underlying trauma and teach healthier coping strategies. However, both psychopaths and sociopaths are often resistant to treatment because admitting they need help requires acknowledging that their behaviour harms others. The psychopath lacks the empathy to care about this harm, while the sociopath's defensive mechanisms make it difficult to accept responsibility for her actions. Recent neuroscience research has revealed fascinating differences in the brains of psychopaths compared to normal individuals. The female psychopath has a dysfunctional amygdala, which is the brain region responsible for emotional processing and fear responses. This dysfunction means she doesn't experience appropriate emotional reactions to situations that would disturb normal people. Her prefrontal cortex, responsible for moral reasoning and impulse control, also shows abnormal patterns of activity. This explains why she can make decisions that seem obviously wrong to others without experiencing internal conflict or regret. The temporal cortex abnormalities affect her ability to process social information and understand the emotional states of others. While she can learn to recognize and mimic emotional expressions, she doesn't have the neurological capacity to truly understand or share the emotions of others. The dopamine overproduction in psychopaths creates a reward system that actually reinforces manipulative and harmful behavior. While normal people feel discomfort when causing pain to others, the psychopath experiences pleasure. This means manipulation isn't just a tool, it's a source of chemical satisfaction that reinforces and perpetuates the behavior. Understanding these neurological realities is crucial for recognizing that you're not dealing with someone who simply has different values or priorities. You're dealing with someone whose brain operates on fundamentally different principles than yours. The media has given us several examples that illustrate the difference between psychopaths and sociopaths, though these portrayals often focus on male characters. However, understanding these examples helps recognize similar patterns in female behavior. Jeffrey Dahmer exemplifies psychopathic behavior: meticulous planning, no genuine remorse, and a fascination with control and domination that goes beyond normal human psychology. A female psychopath might not commit murder, but she'll demonstrate the same calculated approach to manipulation, the same lack of genuine emotional response to others' suffering, and the same methodical planning of her destructive actions. Tommy from the Power series demonstrates sociopathic traits: impulsive behavior, emotional volatility, some capacity for guilt, and erratic decision-making that often works against his own interests. A female sociopath shows similar patterns of emotional instability, reactive behavior, and inconsistent empathy that creates chaos in her relationships. The key is recognizing that these personality patterns exist across gender lines, though they often manifest differently in women due to socialization and social expectations. As you absorb this information, you might be thinking about women in your own life who demonstrate some of these patterns. Consider your experiences with women who seemed too good to be true initially but revealed concerning behaviors over time. Have you encountered women who always had dramatic stories about being victimized by others, but the drama seemed to follow them wherever they went? These personal reflections help develop awareness of manipulation patterns and trusting your instincts when something feels wrong in a relationship. The information I'm sharing comes from extensive psychiatric research and clinical observation. Studies from institutions like Oxford University have confirmed the neurological differences between psychopaths and normal individuals using brain imaging technology to identify structural and functional abnormalities. Research continues to reveal new insights into these conditions, particularly regarding how they manifest differently in women compared to men. Female psychopaths and sociopaths often fly under the radar precisely because their behavior doesn't match the male-dominated research and clinical examples that have shaped our understanding of these disorders. Watch for women who seem to have an unusual number of enemies or people who wronged them in the past. Notice women who can instantly shift between emotional states in ways that seem artificial or performative. Be concerned about women who push for rapid intimacy and commitment. Pay attention to women who consistently violate boundaries after you've clearly established them. Watch for inconsistencies in their stories, values, or personality. Be alert to women who seem to enjoy creating drama, conflict, or chaos, especially when things are going well. Female psychopaths and sociopaths exist. They're more common than you think, and they're incredibly skilled at hiding their true nature behind feminine charm and social expectations. The key to protection isn't becoming paranoid about every woman you meet, but developing the knowledge and awareness to recognize manipulation patterns when they occur. If this analysis has opened your eyes to manipulation patterns you've experienced or witnessed, subscribe to this channel for more insights into the psychology of human behavior and relationships. Your safety, sanity, and success in relationships depend on your ability to see beyond the mask and recognize the predator beneath the performance.